Okay. Hello, Miss Kutiva. It's a pleasure to take you with us today. So my name is Eduard Benitez. I'm the hiring manager, and I'm going to ask you some questions regarding the teacher position for Los Rosales Primary School. So can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little about your background?
Good afternoon, Mr. Benitez. Thank you for inviting me to this interview. It is a pleasure to me to be here. My name is Jessica Daniela Cutiva Peña. I am 23 years old. I did my primary studies at the Normal Superior Institution in Pitalito, Huila, where I did my first grade. I did high school at the Humberto Muñoz Ordóñez Institute, where I obtained very good grades. I also did an extracurricular study technique of English as a foreign language. Based on this technique, I did my social work and became interested in the English language and the opportunities professional, social, cultural, and more the learning that this language could give me. So I decided that as a professional career, I wanted to be an English teacher. As part of my university academic training, I enrolled at the National Open and Distance University UNAT, and I am studying a foreign language with an emphasis on English, where I have learned about various teaching methods, pedagogical models, design and construction of classes, the use of technologies, face-to-face and online teaching, professional ethics, as well as a deep understanding of the duty and responsibility of teaching. Due to my studies at UNAT, I have been trained in various modern pedagogical models for the transformation of education. I am also able to act as a facilitator of powerful learning experience. I am a cooperative faculty member who collaborates productively with all levels of the school staff and students' families. My studies have allowed me to be a highly adaptable professional with a commitment to all aspects of student learning. Currently, I am not working as a teacher, but I work for a year as an assistant in a private kindergarten where English was taught.
Okay, that's great to hear about your background, about yourself. So I'm going to ask you what inspired you to become an English teacher, and how did you get started in the profession?
Teaching as a profession was born when I was 9 years old and in fifth grade at the Normal Superior Institution. I remember my social science teacher named Margot Barragan. I remember her very well because she was a teacher who loved her profession. She was always willing to listen to our opinions. Her classes were never boring, and she was a very kind and gentle woman with her students. She was the first teacher I have who treated me as a person and not as a learning object. Her example was what motivated me to offer that same experience to more children, and thanks to her, I understand what's true vocation. It's my desire to be like her, a teacher like her. I started this profession from a very young age when I taught my younger brothers. I remember that I would sit them down with me and prepare my materials to teach them what my teachers taught me in my classes. In a professional way, I only have the experience obtained during my year of work in the Los Pilos kindergarten.
Okay, that's amazing to hear about your journey into teaching English. So, what do you enjoy the most about teaching English?
Teaching is part of history. Since ancient times, the work of teaching the new generation has existed and been part, albeit a minority, of that international work that will remain in history and in the memory of my students is a feeling of pride, happiness, and responsibility. In my opinion, the teacher is not only the one who teaches classes and expects the students to remember everything perfectly. For me, the teacher is a guide and support for the students since the teacher has the responsibility of establishing the teaching basis and learning that will create the society of the future. In addition, during the learning process, the personal bases are also formed in which students discover themselves, their abilities, and being part of self-learning and questioning. This is what maintains my desires to be a teacher, understanding that I am part of this journey and that I have the responsibility to myself, with my students, and with our future society.
Okay, that's amazing. So, about the other part of teaching, and how do you stay motivated during the challenging times, such when students are struggling or when you face an unexpected obstacles in the classroom?
Okay, like everyone else in this world, I am prone to feeling unmotivated and overloaded in a difficult situations. But I take my work and responsibility very seriously. So when I go through difficult times, I always try to stay calm and positive in the face of adversity. When my students present difficulties in their learning, I pay special attention to the topics in which they are failing and I make the necessary corrections. If is if it is a common error in the classroom, I strive to revise the topic and review it to find out why are they failing and how I can fix that problem. If, on the other hand, my students go through difficult situations in the personal sphere, I know that as a teacher, one of my responsibilities is to ensure the emotional well being of my students. So, if I notice a problem, I approach the students to have a private conversation in the which he or she can tell me in completely confidence between us why they are feeling that way and how this affects them in all aspects. When I have established the reason, I will take the actions that are necessary to solve that problem. To solve unexpected obstacles in the classroom, I always have a backup plan. I know that as a teacher, I cannot adhere to a lesson plan since unexpected things can always happen in the classroom. Therefore, I have a backup plan I can make use of line if the problems is related to studies. On the other hand, if the obstacles is something outside of my capabilities, I always follow the institution's policy and security regulations and carry my students to that regulations to solve the problem.
Okay, that were good strategies and outstanding point of view. So, talking about the academics, what strategies will you use to engage the students in class while teaching complex grammar rules?
Mm, The most effective way to engage students in teach grammar rules in the classroom is by using strategies that promote students' participation and engagement. To achieve this objective, students must first be motivated and encouraged to participate. This promotes communication between the teacher and the student, and it gives the opportunity to know what the student's thinking is. This type of activity allows the students to understand that teacher is committed to the class and sorry, and is someone who listens and understands the points of view. Secondly, after teaching the grammar rules, I make use of didactic activities that allow the students to summarize what they have learned. Generally, do this with the use of illustrations and infographics or guidance with guides. I keep their attention with questions and the use of digital tools for understanding grammar.
Okay, that's great. So, by the end of this semester at the institution, what do you hope your students will have accomplished in terms of their language proficiency?
I have always kept in mind that language proficiency gives students the possibility of accessing other cultures and promotes respect for other countries. But I also know that this may require a training process. Therefore, by the end of the semester, and as a teacher of the second and third year of primary school, I hope my students must have an A1 level of English, where they recognize when others speak to them in English and react verbally and not verbally. Understand greeting and goodbyes, understand children's song, rhymes, and reads, demonstrate understanding of simple questions about their family and environment, and understand short and simple descriptions of familiar objects and places among others.
Okay, thank you for sharing your experience and insights with us. So before we wrap up, so can you tell us what you think are the most important qualities for an English teacher?
Mm. For me, an English teacher must have critical thinking and decision making, fluidity of ideas, teamwork, language skills, good communication, must be a decisive person and have organizational skills. The ability to work with different methodologies and use of techniques is essential in a teacher since they must be an innovative person who adapts to change by adjusting the class content depending on the needs of each one of the students, while developing the communication skills, oral expression, reading and comprehension, listening and writing. But above all, the teacher must be responsible, empathetic, and have a true teaching vocation.
Okay, thank you for your thoughtful response. So it was a pleasure speaking with you today, and we appreciate your interest in this position.
No, no, no. Thank you to you. Thank you very much to the educational institution for giving me this chance and for giving me the time to carry out this interview. And I hope we can be in contact soon.
Okay, I'll catch you later.
Okay, bye.